Hello and welcome to another edition of It's Just Our Opinion. Today we are at Fagerman Farms here in Summerville, Alabama. We got Daniel and Lauren, and they run the farm here and manage all this. In case you're wondering what kind of farm it is, I guess I have to tell you, you see sheep everywhere. So it's a sheep farm. And welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
This is our 29th show, and I believe it's the first time we've actually had this many guests on at one time. And so we're looking forward to learning something about sheep. Tell me what you do. Why do you have this many sheep?
Oh, that's a good question. We started out as a hobby, and we had like 30 sheep, something like that.
Yeah.
And it just, I'm never one of those kinds of people that just kind of halfway does anything. And it blew up, and now we went from 30 to we have about 900 sheep now.
That's a lot of sheep.
Yeah, it is a lot of sheep.
Now we have some cows, and my wife names every cow. I'm sure you don't name the sheep.
No, they're all sheep.
They're sheep. Well, that's good. Lauren, you must enjoy this too, or you wouldn't be part of this.
I've come to enjoy it, I guess. I didn't grow up on a farm or anything like that, but yeah, it's pretty fun.
Now, Daniel, I guess you was raised on a farm, or?
Well, my grandparents and my dad, of course, they grew up on a farm up in Michigan, and when they came down here, we kind of had mini farm of sorts. And I've just always had a passion to do the farming stuff. My background is engineering and surveying, but the sheep stuff and the farming stuff has always just been like, it's just always been a really strong passion of mine.
I bet it's a lot more fun than engineering work.
It is, well, it's a lot more interesting, I think.
There's probably more labor involved too. But
way
still,
more labor intensive, yes. Yep.
But just the passion of seeing something happen on a farm. I mean, what all do you do here? I mean, at Fagerman Farm.
Well, every day it's different. Every day the task is different. You never know when you wake up. You have kind of an idea of what you're going to do, and then when you step outside the door, you see your whole day might change because the sheep are out running and crossing the neighbor's field, or now you got to repair fences all day long. During the most intensive time of the year is when we're lambing. So about 50 days ago, all these lambs started hitting the ground, and we'd have up to about 50 to 100 lambs born in a day.
Now that's what I was wondering. You said lambing. I said they're having babies. That's what us commoners sometimes you have to explain some of that. So lambing is having babies. So you had 50.
Because we did, and maybe we'll get later on in the conversation, but we did an embryo program. So each one of these are actually implanted on the same day. So every sheep in this barn here was the same exact gestation period or day. So they all should lamb within plus or minus 5 days of each other.
That's a lot of work when you start having that many.
It's around the clock.
24/7.
Yes, 24. So y'all actually do your own embryos and stuff here then.
So embryos with cattle and maybe pigs is very common, but with sheep is very uncommon because of the anatomy of the sheep is very difficult to do it the traditional way. It requires doing what they call laparoscopic. It's like a surgical procedure. It's very quick, but it takes people that have a lot of experience doing it. So we actually bring people from outside of the U.S. just to do the whole program. There's people in the U.S., but it's still very in its infant stages. So when we're doing a program this large, we bring people from outside of the country who do 10,000 embryos in a year.
That's a lot.
So, and we're doing 300 or 400 at a time, which most people would do like 5 or 10, just to put it in perspective.
Now, I believe you told me earlier maybe y'all are the largest.
I'm pretty sure we're the largest sheep farm in Alabama. It's very difficult to grow sheep here because of it's very humid, very hot, and the parasites thrive in this kind of conditions. So we have to manage our sheep differently than what you would have to do out west, where it's dry and you have lots more land, less greenery. So there's lots of food here, but the parasites also thrive here because we don't get the hard, cold weather. It's always damp, it's always humid, and this year's actually been especially difficult because of all the rain we've been getting.
Now you mentioned something. You mentioned food. Not enough food here. So, but tell me about food. Brings up what you do with these. You actually sell them for meat.
Yeah. So these are hair sheep. They don't have wool, so they don't provide a product that you can make into a shirt or socks or a sweater or anything like that. They're strictly for meat. So they shed, and you can kind of see some of the sheep in the background here. They're starting to shed because the weather's getting warmer.
Yeah.
They kind of got tricked because it warmed up and then it got cool again and started raining a whole lot more.
Yeah.
So they're in this awkward stage right now where they're kind of shedding their outside coat, and but they'll be slick during the summer. So they're hair sheep is what they're called, and they're strictly raised for meat.
Now, do y'all do your own processing here, or what?
No, we don't do the processing here, and that's one of the challenges we're having because we're getting so large. We could take all the sheep to the stockyard, like a lot of people do. That's actually some of the issues we're having right now because of COVID. A lot of those slaughterhouses are shutting down.
Yeah.
And then those slaughterhouses they're used to distribute to restaurants. Well, the restaurants are shut down, so slaughterhouses have nowhere to go with the meat, and it's a big issue. And the farmers they can't hold on to, especially like pigs and chickens, it's hard to hold on to feeding 5,000 miles every day for an extra week. It's very costly. So it's actually more economical and it's very sad, but if they start just giving animals away, or actually what you see on the news right now where they're just putting them into a pit. It's very sad. But what we do is I've been working with smaller type, young, innovative type slaughterhouses who do much smaller numbers. So when I say these slaughterhouses, like the ones I deal with in Australia, are 3,500 sheep a day they can slaughter. Here, you say that in the States, with the smaller places, they're talking 10 sheep a day.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
a different scale.
A lot
But
of
we're working with people to do 100 or 200 a day, and then also make value-added products as well, like cured smoked hams and sausages and links and things like that.
Now, y'all sell this stuff. I mean, you sell it through the mail, or how do you
Yeah, so
how do
we-
you actually get it to the customer? So let's say I'm sitting at home watching TV, and I think, man, I wished I had some sheep or lamb. How would I order? How would I get any from you if I wanted? How would I go about?
So we have a website now, www.fagermanfarm.com, and you can literally order it off of there, and it'll be shipped to your door.
FagermanFarms.com.
Yep. And you can pick up locally as well.
Yeah. You can come to the farm and
You can
pick
come
out what
here.
you want.
Yeah, I think you showed me a big freezer a little earlier, so
Yep.
so that's, and then I think you import some of your meat also.
Yeah, so the breed, the reason why we did the embryos, people are probably wondering why we implanted a bunch of embryos. Why don't we just do it all naturally? And that's the way we used to do it up to about a year and a half, 2 years ago. But what we did was we actually imported a brand new breed of sheep here. Not these adult sheep, but the lambs here are all a brand new breed. And they're actually very highly sought after right now in the U.S. because it's much like Angus is a good beef cow,
Oh, yeah.
and everybody's very familiar with Angus. But then you have, and it's very good steak. And usually go to a steakhouse, that's what you're going to get is an Angus type steak. But if you go to the really high-end steaks, it's going to be like Wagyu beef, which is the Japanese cow, and it's prized for its marbling and it's very tender and buttery flavor. This sheep we brought here, one of the challenges I was having growing with the sheep was, okay, now I got to, like you're asking me, what do I do with them? Well, most of the time it's the ethnic group that's buying the lambs, and they're the ones that'll eat lamb, and they're familiar with lamb, they grew up with lamb. But the average American, when they think of lamb, they're like, it stinks. It smells when you cook it. Very similar to like when you cook deer. Either you really like it or you don't like it.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to, it's a huge market because lamb is actually a very healthy meat. And it's more efficient to grow than cattle is because it's quick turnaround. You can have more sheep per acre, less damaging to the environment. So once I started growing with numbers, I'm like, okay, I got to start moving the sheep, and I don't want to take it to the normal stockyard because it's hard for farmers to make money doing that.
Oh yeah.
So I travel a lot with my other business with the drone stuff, and I actually went to Mexico. And when I was down in Mexico, I was doing the LiDAR drone stuff. It's a whole nother topic, but the surveying engineering business. And when I do that, I normally try to go off and do some of the visit sheep farms and stuff. So I was down in Mexico, and I attended a big sheep expo down there. And when I was down there, I met Australians, and they were pushing this brand new breed. So new meaning 15, 20 years old. That's very new for, new breeds. It takes a long time to develop. and they started pushing this eating quality stuff on. Like most of the time, people are focused with sheep is grow fast, and then we get rid of them. This, they were more focused not just on the production numbers, but the eating quality as well. So I didn't really think about it at the time, but a month later, I went and spent a whole week in Australia and visited all these farms with these sheep are called Australian whites. And I tried the meat. I was blown away. This is definitely what the Americans are after because it doesn't have that really strong flavor. You want a little bit of lamb flavor, but it's kind of like I described it as people like salt, but they don't like too much salt.
Oh yeah.
It's the same thing. You want a little bit of lamb flavor. You don't want to destroy the meat and totally take it away where it's just bland. But you don't want the overbearing, strong odor. So this stuff's very mild, not a real strong odor, and it's very tender. So when I ate it for the first time, I was like, this is what American palate would really like
Well,
to have.
I had never really tried none until y'all had the open house here several months ago.
Right.
And it was, folks, it was great. It was really good. Something you need to try. And you need to buy it from Fagerman Farms.
Yes.
And but it was very good. Like I say, we'd never even thought about eating sheep till we come out for that. And it's great. I mean,
That's the thing. Most people really haven't. Most Americans, unless they've done some traveling or something like that, because lamb and goat is very popular outside the U.S. U.S. has like the lowest consumption. I think in the U.S. people eat right around a pound on average a year, but they
yeah.
eat like 48 or 50 pounds of beef a year.
yeah.
So there's a huge difference between the lamb doesn't even show up on the Richter scale when you compare against beef, pork,
Yeah.
chicken.
Well, that's interesting there because, you know, everything you eat, everything you try, you always try new stuff. And people always have this thing that say, well, it kind of tastes like chicken. Well, lamb, it didn't taste like it. It was much better than chicken. And so, you know, we got a friend right here wanting to come over and just check us out. And if you notice, they're all tame. There's none wild. None of us tried to headbutt us the whole time we're here. This one here has been real friendly. And I'm sure, like I say, I'm sure I know you don't name them. We don't went through that, but I'm sure you grow attached to them after a while.
Yeah, there's certain ones in here. Well,
Yeah.
if you walk through here every day, you kind of get familiar with each individual one. Even though I have 900 of them now,
Yeah.
I know each one of them. I might not be able to call it out when I'm in the office, but when I walk out here, it's like, oh, I remember that one from 6 months
yeah.
ago. It was jumping through the fences constantly, you know.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure that's probably a problem when they get out. It's probably not just one getting out; it's a bunch getting out.
Right. Well, that's what,
Sometimes.
sheeple. You hear that term all the time. If one sheep jumps out, it's a problem because the other sheep are wanting to jump out as well. It's exactly, actually link it back to like biblical stuff.
Oh yeah.
It gives you a whole nother meaning when you start reading the Bible and you read about sheep and goats, and then you actually deal with the sheep. It's like, now I get what that means.
Well, I guarantee you, if you had 900 get out,
Oh, yeah.
probably would get a call from the neighbors.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Hopefully.
you know that is a bunch of sheep, and like I say, sound like y'all got a great business going there. It's more of a family thing. I know y'all are not the only two involved, and it's a family operation.
Yep. So us two, of course, my dad gets involved, and the kids are involved. It's really good for the kids.
Yeah, I love it.
If she could rewind the camera before we started sitting down here, you've seen our kids running around with their
Oh,
bare
yeah.
feet in the barnyard. That's a constant thing. They're always out here playing in the sheep.
Well, they're a good tame animal. I
Yeah.
mean, like you know, if it was cows or pigs, we couldn't be sitting here like this. They would have done knocked us out. of the field.
That's cool.
But you know, and I noticed they're all different colors. Got some brown and black, but mainly white. I
White.
guess that's the one that you really get
All
the
the-
best meat out of. Is the
Right,
white.
all the lambs will be white. That's just the trait of the breed.
Well, tell us something that I hadn't asked you about. You know, I'm not an expert on this lamb stuff. Tell us something that you think people out here in the audience would like to know, other than how friendly this one here has been.
Yes.
We may end up naming this one before we leave. I mean, we got our cow's name, so we may name this
Very
one.
sweet.
Sheep. I can just give you some interesting sheep facts that most people don't know. Typically they breed once a year, but they can breed every 8 months, and they usually have, depending on the breed, they usually have 2 at a time.
Okay.
And then those lambs can be bred at 7 months of age. So
7 months.
So like a cow, it's the gestation period is very much like a human actually.
9 months, yeah.
And then you don't breed them again for a whole nother year.
Yeah.
These things, it's what they call accelerated breeding programs every 8 months, and
So they usually have two. So you
Usually have
kind
twins.
of double
And
your
sometimes
money.
more. It
Yep.
depends, but
Ever. Well, that's so you do have some that have more than two.
some they can have triplets.
Triplets and quadruplets. I try to avoid that because it's a lot more work.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now tell me, you said you've been to Australia to visit. I mean, when you had your open house here several months ago, you had several folks come here from Australia. I mean,
And we had folks from all over the world come here for this. So a lot of countries in South America, like Brazil, Argentina, and then Central America, we had people from, I think we had Costa Rica and Colombia, and then, of course, all over the U.S., like all
Mexico.
over it.
oh
Yep.
yeah, no, we've seen folks.
Yep, a
from
lot
all
of
over.
Mexicans came up here, and those guys actually come from very large productions, like 20,000 sheep or 100,000
yeah.
sheep. And then, of course, New Zealand, Australia. I don't think we had anybody from Europe. I can't remember from Europe. But there's people from all over.
Yeah, I knew it was a,
Yeah.
a wide variety, but I thought it was interesting that you had people from out of the country coming for a grand opening. That lets you know you got a good operation.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of confidence in you. They wouldn't have come this far.
This is the fastest growing. The lambs back here, the Australian white's the fastest growing breed around the planet. So China's already taken it. I know China's got a negative right now,
Yeah.
but they've already taken them and mass produced them in the hundreds of thousands on these really big farms because of their meat eating qualities.
What about just here in the South? Is this a pretty good average size for a farm?
For a sheep farm, so in the South, it's mostly 50 sheep or less.
Oh,
I would say
okay.
90% of the farms are 50 sheep or less.
And you got over 900.
And you go out west, there's fewer farms, but they're much bigger.
Yeah,
So they get up to 10,000 sheep.
that's a lot of sheep.
Yeah. So we're working on about 1,500, maybe 2,000 sheep is where we plan on going.
Now, how many? I know you got to have some employees. I know it's a family farm, but you probably have to have employees to help you run this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
How many people do you employ here? Not counting family members.
There's usually 2 people all the time, but right now we have 3.
Three,
There's certain times of the year where it takes a lot more work. So winter, when you're having to feed and the lambing's going on, you wear them down because they're not working. It's not an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
It's
They're constantly.
yeah, they're out here. They might be out here
It's
at
a lot
5
of
in the
work.
morning, and they might be here back at 5 in the morning the next day. They never got a break. So
Yeah.
you got to have them where they're changing shifts because and sometimes it takes all 3 of them doing that, and I'll join in at the same time, of course.
Now, how many acres? I should have done ask. I'm sure everybody's wondering how you got 900 sheep. How many acres do you run them on?
So sheep usually it depends on how you manage, but 4 to 6 sheep per acre is a safe bet. So we're using. It's interesting. So here lately, we've been using the sheep. I have different groups all over. So this is the nursery. Then I have another breeding group, and then I have a group waiting to be bred. And I have them spread out all over Somerville and even Hartsville now. So I just got a deal with the Morgan County Sheriff's Office actually to put sheep onto the posse, the Morgan County Sheriff's posse
Yeah,
grounds.
in Hartsville.
So they're going to use the sheep to keep the place
That way
mowed.
they ain't got to mow it.
Yep.
Yep.
Plus,
So-
it feeds them for you.
Right now the grass is tall, and they're complaining about the grass being tall, and nobody wants to mow because of COVID. They contacted me to run sheep over there.
Well, that's neat. That'll help them and you.
Yep. And then just this past weekend, my in-laws, they have like a really brushy area, and they were going to clear it by hand. It's just loaded with poison ivy. I said, oh man, take 35 sheep, put them out there, and in 2 days it was clean.
Can't beat that, folks. Hey, found something that likes poison oak. I hate poison oak. I know y'all probably do too, but if the sheep eat it, you can't get no better than that. Well, we've had a lot of fun here. I mean, this is really neat. I mean, you just look behind us, and there's probably not 900 here behind us. There's several hundred here.
500.
500 here behind us. So that's a lot of sheep, and over 900 in Somerville. Who would have thought? We don't even have that many citizens. We got nearly 800 or 850 citizens in Somerville, but over 900 sheep. I mean, that is just neat. Like I say, give a shout out again. What's your website?
FagermanFarm.com.
FagermanFarms.com, and you can go on there. If I wanted to buy 10 pound of lamb, you got all the instructions, and
Yep.
you know how to ship it. I mean, all that.
It's really easy.
FagermanFarms.com. I mean, that's pretty easy. And if you can't spell it, Look on their shirt. but it's pretty easy, and you know, let's help them out. Who would have thought that many sheep right here though? Look, I appreciate y'all being on here. We've said a lot. Y'all said a lot of stuff that's true. Mine's just my opinion, but I do thank you for being on here.
Thank
and
you.
folks,
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.